A common phrase that promises a brighter future and a better you is recreating yourself. But how many truly understand the depth of this transformation? How many embark on this life-changing journey with full commitment? As we stand on the threshold of 2024, it's time for a profound awakening, a complete guide to reinventing yourself in the year ahead. This video draws wisdom from Stoic philosophy and other influential thinkers to help you break free from limitations and redefine your life. Imagine a world where the opinions of others no longer dictate your actions, where the noise of society fades into the background. The first step is mastering the art of not caring, not out of indifference but out of freedom. It's about becoming the center of your own world, unshackled from external distractions. Happiness isn't something to chase. It's already within you, waiting to be realized. But to truly detach from the outside world, you must first turn inward. Here, we explore the misunderstood concept of selfishness, not as a flaw, but as a foundation for self-love. Before you dismiss the idea, consider this. Can you genuinely love others if you haven't learned to love yourself? Discover why embracing self-love is the key to building a fulfilling life. With a stronger sense of identity, the next step is one of humanity's deepest pursuits, finding purpose. In a world of chaos, a clear purpose serves as your anchor. It's not about searching for meaning. It's about creating it. A life so rich with intention that every breath becomes an expression of who you truly are. Finally, we turn to Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that remains profoundly relevant today. The Stoics defined a good life not by wealth or status, but by virtue, wisdom, and tranquility. Learn how adversity can shape you rather than break you, and how true strength comes from within. As you step into the new year, remember, transformation isn't just about changing how you look. It's about evolving into your most authentic self. It's about uncovering the hidden potential within and radiating that energy into the world. The blank slate of 2024 awaits. The question isn't whether you should change, but whether you're ready to meet the best version of yourself. Don't hesitate, embrace the journey. Let's grow together like never before. The art of not caring and the path to enlightenment. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by society's expectations, or found yourself worrying about things beyond your control? So you're not alone. Many of us spend our lives burdened by concerns that may not be as significant as they seem. But what if there was a way to break free from this cycle? A way to navigate life with less stress and more inner peace? Today, we explore a philosophical approach that can help you lead a happier, more fulfilling life. The art of not caring. This concept isn't about indifference or neglecting others. Instead, it's about directing our energy and attention toward what truly matters, what we can control, while letting go of everything else. This journey will take us through the wisdom of various philosophies and thinkers who have paved the way before us. We'll delve into the calming principles of Buddhism, the empowering mindset of Stoicism, the existential courage of Soren Kierkegaard, the practical wisdom of Epictetus, the life-affirming essence of Taoism, and the individualistic strength of existentialism. Real-life applications and stories will illustrate how these ideas have helped people cultivate happiness, reduce fear, and lead more meaningful lives. What does not caring really mean? In a philosophical sense, not caring doesn't mean detachment or apathy. It means liberation. It's about freeing ourselves from societal pressures, fear of the unknown, anxiety over things we can't control, and the constant worry about others' opinions. Instead of focusing on what's out of our hands, we shift our attention to how we act, how we respond, and how we feel. This is the essence of the art of not caring, understanding our limitations and consciously choosing where to invest our thoughts and emotions. It's about embracing uncertainty, living in the present with joy, and recognizing that we don't have to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. If you've ever wished to let go of the worries holding you back or wanted to explore different philosophical perspectives on happiness, you're in the right place. By the end of this journey, you'll have a fresh perspective on life's challenges and a newfound sense of calm and clarity. The connection between philosophy and happiness. Before we begin, it's crucial to understand the deep connection between philosophy and happiness. How does philosophy shape our understanding of happiness? Philosophy is the pursuit of wisdom, a quest to understand fundamental truths about existence, reality, knowledge, values, and, most importantly, happiness. Throughout history, philosophers from different cultures and eras have grappled with the question, what is happiness, and how do we attain it? At first glance, happiness seems like a simple, universal concept. But upon closer examination, it reveals itself as deeply personal and complex. Our understanding of happiness is shaped by our individual experiences, cultural background, and societal expectations. Yet, when viewed through the lens of philosophy, happiness takes on a broader, more profound meaning. Perspectives on happiness. Ancient and modern insights. The Greek philosophers, Aristotle and Epictetus. Among history's most influential thinkers, Aristotle believed that happiness wasn't just a fleeting emotion or moment of pleasure. He introduced the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as human flourishing or the good life. According to Aristotle, true happiness comes from living a life of virtue, wisdom, and purpose, fulfilling one's potential and making a positive impact on the world. Rather than seeking pleasure for its own sake, he emphasized inner fulfillment. On the other hand, Epictetus defined happiness as the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of unnecessary pain. However, his philosophy didn't advocate for reckless indulgence or selfish excess. Instead, Epictetus emphasized simple, natural pleasures, peace of mind, meaningful friendships, and intellectual pursuits. He believed that true happiness comes from a life of balance, free from fear and unnecessary desires. As we continue this exploration, we'll uncover more philosophical insights and practical strategies to help you embrace the art of not caring. By the end of this journey, you'll gain the tools to let go of stress, find peace within yourself, and live a life of true fulfillment. Are you ready to take this step toward enlightenment? Let's begin. The pursuit of happiness. Philosophical perspectives. Throughout history, philosophers have sought to define happiness, offering different perspectives on what it truly means to live a fulfilling life. From the Enlightenment thinkers to the Stoics and existentialists, each school of thought provides valuable insights into how we can navigate life with greater peace and purpose. Utilitarianism and the greatest happiness principle. Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, key figures of utilitarianism, lived during the Age of Enlightenment in the 17th and 18th centuries. They believed that happiness was not just a personal pursuit but a collective one. True moral and ethical standards should be based on maximizing happiness for the greatest number of people. Their philosophy laid the foundation for modern discussions on ethics and social responsibility. Schopenhauer's pessimistic view. In contrast, Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher of the 19th century, had a more somber perspective. He saw life as inherently full of suffering, defining happiness not as the pursuit of joy but as the absence of pain. According to Schopenhauer, reducing our desires and expectations was the key to minimizing suffering, challenging conventional ideas of happiness. Existentialism, creating meaning in a meaningless world. Moving into the 20th century, existentialist philosophers such as Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus took a different stance. They argued that life has no inherent meaning. It is up to each individual to create their own purpose and happiness. Rejecting societal norms and embracing personal freedom, they championed authenticity and self-determination as the keys to fulfillment. Eastern wisdom, Buddhism, and detachment. Beyond Western philosophy, Buddhism offers profound insights into happiness. It teaches that the root of suffering lies in attachment and desire. By letting go of these cravings and embracing mindfulness, one can achieve inner peace and enlightenment. This principle aligns closely with the art of not caring, not in the sense of apathy, but in the sense of focusing only on what truly matters. The art of not caring, finding balance. These diverse philosophical perspectives make one thing clear: happiness is not a one-size-fits-all concept. Our beliefs, choices, and perceptions shape our understanding of fulfillment. Some seek virtue, others pursue pleasure, freedom, or spiritual growth. But how does the art of not caring fit into this discussion? True happiness comes from a balanced and intentional approach to caring, devoting energy to what truly matters while letting go of unnecessary worries. Philosophy does not provide absolute answers. Rather, it helps us ask the right questions. By exploring different schools of thought, we can develop a deeper understanding of happiness and learn how to navigate life's uncertainties with wisdom and peace. Stoicism, mastering the art of not caring. One of the most practical philosophies for achieving inner peace is Stoicism, an ancient Greek school of thought that has regained popularity for its timeless wisdom. Founded by Zeno of Citium in the 3rd century BCE, Stoicism was later shaped by great thinkers like Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius. At its core, Stoicism teaches that while we cannot control external events, we can control how we respond to them. This mindset is the foundation of the art of not caring, not in the sense of indifference, but in the sense of directing our energy toward what we can influence and letting go of the rest. One of the most powerful Stoic teachings comes from Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most respected philosophers of his time. In his work Enchiridion, the Handbook, he outlines two types of power: what is within our control, our opinions, choices, desires, and actions. What is beyond our control, our body, reputation, possessions, and external circumstances. By focusing on what we can control and detaching from what we cannot, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and anxiety. This approach is not about passivity but about choosing where to invest our energy wisely. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a devout Stoic, embodied these principles in his writings, later compiled as meditations. Despite his immense power, he understood that true happiness comes not from external success but from inner peace. One of his most famous reflections states, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." His philosophy reminds us that while we cannot control external events, we can cultivate resilience and tranquility within. Seneca's lessons on contentment. Another prominent Stoic, Seneca, emphasized maintaining emotional stability regardless of life's ups and downs. He taught that true happiness comes from appreciating the present moment without being consumed by fear or expectation. In one of his letters, he wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have." By embracing this mindset, we learn to detach from unnecessary worries, accept change, and find contentment in the present. Applying Stoicism to modern life. The Stoic approach to not caring is not about neglecting responsibilities or ignoring hardships. Instead, it's about choosing where to direct our focus. Teaches us to detach from the uncontrollable and find peace in acceptance, to cultivate resilience in the face of adversity, to prioritize wisdom, virtue, and self-improvement over external validation, to appreciate the present moment rather than anxiously chasing the future. By adopting these principles, we learn how to let go of what doesn't serve us and focus on what truly enriches our lives. From Stoicism to Epicureanism, another path to happiness. Shifting from Stoicism, we turn to the philosophy of Epicurus, another influential Greek thinker. While often misunderstood as a proponent of indulgence, Epicureanism actually advocates for simple pleasures, finding happiness in meaningful relationships, intellectual pursuits, and a peaceful mind. Epicurus believed that reducing unnecessary desires and avoiding unnecessary pain leads to a more satisfying life. His philosophy aligns with the art of not caring by encouraging us to seek genuine fulfillment rather than external validation. Final thoughts. Embracing the art of not caring. As we explore these different philosophical perspectives, one truth remains constant. Happiness is a personal journey. Whether through Stoicism, Buddhism, existentialism, or Epicureanism, the key is to let go of what weighs us down and focus on what truly enriches our lives. The art of not caring isn't about apathy, it's about clarity. It's about freeing ourselves from unnecessary burdens, embracing resilience, and choosing where to invest our time and energy. By mastering this mindset, we can cultivate lasting peace, wisdom, and happiness. Are you ready to embark on this journey? Let's begin. The art of not caring. Perspectives from Epicureanism, existentialism, and Buddhism. Throughout history, philosophers have explored what it means to live a meaningful life, each offering unique perspectives on happiness, desire, and detachment. From Epicurus, the founder of Epicureanism, to Soren Kierkegaard, the father of existentialism, and Buddha, the spiritual teacher behind Buddhism, their insights reveal how the art of not caring can lead to true contentment. Epicureanism. Finding happiness in simplicity. Epicurus, an ancient Greek philosopher, established Epicureanism, a school of thought that offers a refreshing perspective on the art of not caring. Contrary to popular belief, Epicureanism is not about indulgence in luxury or hedonistic pleasures. Rather, it promotes a life of tranquility, freedom, and deep friendship. At the heart of Epicurus' philosophy is a nuanced understanding of pleasure and desire. He distinguished between two types of pleasure. Kinetic pleasures, these come from actively satisfying a desire, such as eating when hungry or enjoying music. Catastematic pleasures, these come from a state of contentment, where one feels at peace without any unfulfilled desires. Epicurus believed that the highest form of happiness is found in catastematic pleasure, a state of tranquility where we are free from unnecessary wants and external pressures. Rather than chasing fleeting desires, we should focus on appreciating simple joys and avoiding the endless pursuit of material wealth, fame, or power. Rejecting social pressures and materialism. A key element of the art of not caring in Epicurean thought is letting go of societal expectations. Epicurus argued that many of our desires, such as the need for status, wealth, or prestige, are imposed by society rather than being essential to our well-being. He famously stated, "If you wish to make a man happy, do not add to his riches, but take away from his desires." By reducing unnecessary wants and focusing on inner peace, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of dissatisfaction. Overcoming the fear of death. Epicurus also tackled one of humanity's greatest fears, death. He argued that we should not fear death because, when we exist, death is not present. When death arrives, we no longer exist. In other words, death is nothing to us, and worrying about it only robs us of the joy of living. By accepting its inevitability, we can live more fully in the present, unburdened by unnecessary fears. Applying Epicureanism to modern life. By embracing simplicity, detachment from materialism, and a fearless approach to life, Epicurus' teachings encourage us to focus on meaningful relationships rather than social validation. Seek contentment in what we have instead of chasing endless desires. Live without fear of death or societal expectations. These principles form a strong foundation for the art of not caring, helping us achieve a state of calm and lasting happiness. Kierkegaard and existentialism. Embracing uncertainty. Moving from ancient Greece to 19th century Denmark, we encounter Soren Kierkegaard, often regarded as the father of existentialism. Unlike previous philosophers, Kierkegaard focused intensely on the individual's inner struggles, freedom, and search for meaning. He believed that truth is subjective, Each person must define their own purpose and live authentically. This idea challenges us to stop worrying about external expectations and instead take ownership of our own choices. The leap of faith, letting go of fear. One of Kierkegaard's most famous ideas is the leap of faith, the concept that in the face of uncertainty, fear, and doubt, we must have the courage to make decisions without knowing the outcome. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. This means we often fear the unknown because we cannot predict the future. We hesitate, overthink, and worry about what might happen. But what if we chose not to care about the uncertainty? What if, instead of being paralyzed by fear, we took bold action and embraced life as it unfolds? Breaking free from anxiety. Kierkegaard saw anxiety as a natural part of life, our mind's response to infinite possibilities. However, rather than letting fear hold us back, he encouraged us to embrace uncertainty and live authentically. In practical terms, this means stop obsessing over things beyond our control, accept the unknown. Make decisions with courage rather than fear of failure. Live in the present moment instead of worrying about the future. By taking the leap of faith, we free ourselves from anxiety, allowing us to pursue a life that aligns with our values, rather than one dictated by fear. Buddhism, detachment, and inner peace. Our journey now takes us to ancient India, where Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, developed one of the world's most profound philosophies, Buddhism. Buddhism offers a unique perspective on happiness and suffering, emphasizing detachment from desires and the impermanence of life. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. When we cling to things, people, or outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Letting go, the path to peace. At the heart of Buddhism is the concept of non-attachment, learning to let go of desires, expectations, and fears to achieve inner peace. This does not mean indifference or apathy, but rather freedom from emotional turmoil. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to release attachment to material possessions and external validation. Accept impermanence, everything changes, and that's okay. Cultivate mindfulness, live fully in the present. The middle path, balance over extremes. Buddhism teaches that the best approach to life is the middle path, avoiding both excess indulgence and excess denial. This aligns with the art of not caring, as it encourages us to detach from what doesn't serve us while still engaging meaningfully in life. Prioritize inner peace over external circumstances. Free ourselves from unnecessary suffering by letting go of control. Final thoughts. Mastering the art of not caring. From Epictetus to Kierkegaard to Buddha, these great thinkers teach us that true happiness and peace come from within. By embracing Epicurus' wisdom, we can let go of unnecessary desires and focus on simple, meaningful joys. By following Kierkegaard's courage, we can overcome fear and live boldly despite uncertainty. By adopting Buddhism's principles, we can release attachment and find peace in the present. The art of not caring isn't about ignoring responsibilities or being indifferent. It's about choosing what truly matters and freeing ourselves from unnecessary suffering. So, as we continue our journey, let's remember, let go of what you can't control. Stop seeking external validation. Embrace the unknown with confidence. Live in the present moment. By mastering this mindset, we can cultivate a life of peace, authenticity, and true happiness. Are you ready to begin? Smiling face with smiling eyes. Buddhism offers a unique perspective on happiness, distinct from many Western philosophies. It does not equate happiness with pleasure or the fulfillment of desires, but rather views true happiness as a deep, lasting state of well-being and contentment derived from inner peace and wisdom. This happiness remains unaffected by external circumstances and can be attained by cultivating awareness, acting with integrity, and understanding reality. At the core of Buddhism lie the Four Noble Truths, which explain the nature of suffering, its origins, the possibility of cessation, and the path to achieving it. According to the Buddha, suffering arises from tanha or craving, an intense desire for things to be different from how they are. This desire stems from a misunderstanding of reality, which is characterized by impermanence, dissatisfaction, and the absence of a fixed self. Understanding these concepts leads to the practice of detachment and non-attachment, which are essential for achieving peace of mind. Detachment in Buddhism does not mean avoidance or indifference. Rather, it involves deeply understanding and accepting the transient nature of all things. It means letting go of people, objects, events, and even beliefs, recognizing that they are subject to change and eventual dissolution. Non-attachment allows individuals to experience life fully without being enslaved by fleeting emotions. By practicing non-attachment, one can embrace joy, sadness, pleasure, and pain without being controlled by them. This enables a healthier connection to life, appreciating the present moment while being free from the suffering that comes from clinging. A well-known Buddhist saying states, "You only lose what you cling to." This simple yet profound truth encapsulates the essence of detachment and non-attachment, encouraging individuals to let go of unnecessary worries over temporary matters. Through this practice, people free themselves from self-imposed suffering and open the path to deeper, enduring happiness. By integrating Buddhist principles into daily life, one can cultivate clarity, peace, and liberation from unhealthy attachments. Similarly, the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche offers an alternative approach to the art of not caring. Nietzsche challenged conventional morality and advocated for a philosophy of life affirmation, which entails embracing existence in all its complexity. He argued that true fulfillment comes from accepting life with all its struggles, uncertainties, and contradictions, rather than passively resigning to fate. Nietzsche criticized traditional morality for restricting individuality and preventing people from living authentically. He believed that social norms often impose arbitrary standards that hinder personal growth. According to Nietzsche, the rejection of these imposed values is not an act of apathy, but a step towards self-overcoming, a process through which individuals transcend conditioned behaviors and create their own value systems. This idea gave rise to his concept of the Übermensch or Overman, an ideal person who has mastered self-overcoming, formulated their own moral code, and embraced life in its entirety. In his work Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche famously declared, "I teach you the Overman. Man is something that shall be overcome." This call to action urges individuals to challenge societal conventions, forge their own path, and fully engage with life on their own terms. In the quest for freedom from societal expectations, Nietzsche's philosophy encourages individuals to determine their own values and priorities. Integrating these philosophical insights into everyday life involves several practical steps. First, distinguish between what is within one's control and what is not, a principle emphasized in Stoicism. By focusing on what can be changed, such as one's thoughts, actions, and responses, and letting go of what cannot, individuals can reduce stress and cultivate a sense of peace. Second, embrace uncertainty. Life is inherently unpredictable, and attempting to control every aspect can lead to unnecessary suffering. Instead, adopting a mindset that sees uncertainty as an opportunity for growth fosters resilience and adaptability. Third, critically examine social norms and expectations. Nietzsche and existentialist thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus suggest that blindly adhering to societal standards can stifle individuality. By questioning these norms and aligning one's actions with personal values, one can achieve a sense of authenticity and fulfillment. Finally, accepting life's inherent absurdity can be liberating. Rather than seeking external validation or rigid meaning, individuals can create their own sense of purpose through their passions, relationships, and personal growth. Mindfulness serves as a valuable tool in this journey. By practicing mindfulness, individuals can cultivate awareness of the present moment without judgment, allowing them to navigate life with greater clarity and non-attachment. Simple practices, such as focusing on the breath and acknowledging passing thoughts without clinging to them, reinforce inner peace and resilience. The art of not caring is not about indifference or negligence, but about discerning what truly matters, embracing the unpredictability of life, and defining one's own path. It requires courage, self-compassion, and patience, as it is a lifelong journey rather than a final destination. By integrating these philosophical teachings into daily life, The Art of Letting Go, a philosophical guide to inner peace. Many of us struggle with worrying about things that are temporary and fleeting. In Buddhism, the concept of happiness is distinct from Western notions. Rather than equating happiness with pleasure or fulfilling desires, Buddhism views true happiness as a deep, enduring state of well-being and contentment derived from inner peace and wisdom. This form of happiness is not dependent on external circumstances, but can be attained by practicing mindfulness, ethical living, and understanding the nature of reality. At the core of Buddhism are the Four Noble Truths, which address suffering, its causes, how to overcome it, and the path to liberation. According to Buddha's teachings, suffering arises from tanha, an intense craving for things to be different than they are. This desire stems from our failure to recognize that everything in life is impermanent, ever-changing, and lacking a fixed self. Buddhism promotes detachment and non-attachment as fundamental principles for reducing suffering. However, detachment does not mean avoiding or ignoring life's experiences. Rather, it signifies understanding and accepting change, letting go of attachments to people, objects, or ideas, and embracing life with an open heart. Non-attachment allows us to fully experience emotions like joy and sorrow without being controlled by them. By practicing this mindset, we can engage with life wholeheartedly while maintaining inner peace when things inevitably change. A well-known Buddhist teaching states, "You only lose what you cling to." This profound message captures the essence of non-attachment. By releasing our grip on temporary things, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering and open the door to lasting peace. Nietzsche's perspective on the art of not caring. In contrast to Buddhist thought, Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential and controversial philosophers of the 19th century, approached the idea of detachment from a different angle. Nietzsche championed life affirmation, which involves embracing life in all its struggles, uncertainties, and contradictions, rather than seeking escape from them. Nietzsche challenged traditional morality and societal norms, arguing that they often restrict individual growth and authenticity. He introduced the concept of the Übermensch, Overman, or Superman, an individual who transcends conventional values to create their own purpose. According to Nietzsche, not caring about societal expectations does not mean indifference, but rather a deep commitment to self-overcoming, breaking free from imposed beliefs and living according to one's own values. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche wrote, "I teach you the Overman. Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him?" This call to action encourages us to rise above limitations and embrace life's challenges without being bound by fear, doubt, or societal pressure. His philosophy invites us to let go of external validation and take responsibility for our own existence. Applying these philosophies to everyday life. Understanding these philosophical perspectives is one thing, applying them is another. How can we integrate the wisdom of Buddhism and Nietzsche into our daily lives? 1. Distinguish between what you can and cannot control. The Stoic idea of the dichotomy of control suggests that we should focus on what we can change, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, while letting go of concerns over things beyond our influence. This simple shift in focus can significantly reduce stress and increase inner freedom. 2. Embrace uncertainty. Life is inherently uncertain. As Soren Kierkegaard emphasized, trying to control everything only leads to frustration. Instead, we should embrace doubt and accept the unknown as an opportunity for growth rather than a source of fear. 3. Challenge social expectations. Nietzsche and existentialist thinkers like Sartre and Camus taught that societal norms often limit our true selves. Reflect on whether societal pressures align with your personal values. Not caring about arbitrary expectations doesn't mean neglecting responsibility. It means reclaiming the power to define your own path. 4. Accept life's absurdity. Camus described life as inherently absurd, yet he encouraged us to embrace it fully. Instead of seeking external meaning, we should create our own purpose through our passions, relationships, and personal growth. Finding joy in the journey rather than fixating on the destination is key. 5. Practice mindfulness. One of the most practical ways to cultivate detachment is through mindfulness. Being fully present in each moment without judgment allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming entangled in them. A simple practice is to focus on your breath. Whenever your mind drifts, gently bring it back. Over time, mindfulness fosters a sense of peace and acceptance. A lifelong journey. The art of not worrying about temporary things is not about apathy or indifference, but about cultivating wisdom, resilience, and authenticity. It requires self-reflection, patience, and self-compassion. There will be moments of uncertainty, but rather than resisting them, we can embrace them as part of our journey. Ultimately, the key to inner peace lies in recognizing what truly matters, letting go of fleeting attachments, and embracing life as it is. By integrating these timeless philosophical insights, we can move through life with greater freedom, joy, and meaning. Our hobbies, which contribute to personal growth, also help us develop a healthy sense of selfishness. This allows us to learn how to say no, stop trying to please everyone, and avoid taking on too much. Many of us fall into these traps, which can harm our mental and emotional well-being. A crucial step in personal growth is learning to say no to things that drain us. This is an act of healthy selfishness, one rooted in self-love. When self-love and healthy selfishness work together, they create a powerful force that enables us to live a peaceful, happy, and fulfilling life. They help us maintain mental balance, foster personal development, and face life's challenges with confidence and resilience. By practicing self-love, we cultivate a mental garden where positive ideas, self-worth, and resilience can thrive. Healthy selfishness, in turn, helps us nurture this garden, giving it the attention, care, and nourishment it needs to grow. These concepts together allow us to stand strong, no longer swayed by the need for external validation, but firmly grounded in self-love and self-respect. Ultimately, the goal is to strike a balance, meeting our own needs while also considering those of others. As we continue exploring these ideas, we will uncover the wisdom they hold, not just in theory but in practical ways that can transform our lives. Guided by the deep insights of philosophers and psychologists, we will examine their teachings on self-love and healthy selfishness. Our first stop is Carl Rogers, a pioneering psychologist and one of the founders of humanistic psychology. His work has had a lasting impact in this field. Let's take a closer look at his views on self-love. Carl Rogers, born in 1902, revolutionized psychology with his focus on individual experiences and self-actualization. His approach challenged the dominant psychoanalytic and behaviorist perspectives of his time. Rogers' person-centered method emphasized the inherent goodness and growth potential in every person. His compassionate and empathetic work has left a lasting mark on psychology, counseling, and psychotherapy. Rogers believed that achieving self-actualization, the highest level of psychological growth, required experiencing unconditional positive regard. This means fully accepting and loving oneself, regardless of external validation or achievements. According to Rogers, true self-love is not based on accomplishments, societal approval, or the opinions of others. Instead, it stems from an internal acceptance of one's unique worth. He argued that self-love is not a sign of arrogance or pride. It's not about feeling superior to others, but rather about recognizing one's own value, being open to personal experiences, and trusting one's thoughts and emotions. Rogers saw this type of self-love as essential for personal growth and fulfillment. When we practice unconditional self-love, we create a safe space to explore and understand ourselves. We allow for mistakes, learn from them, and grow in the process. This helps us develop an internal locus of evaluation, meaning we trust our own judgments rather than constantly seeking validation from others. Another crucial aspect of self-love, according to Rogers, is embracing change. He believed that human beings are not static, we are constantly evolving. Loving oneself means accepting both who we are today and who we have the potential to become. In therapy, Rogers emphasized the importance of a supportive environment filled with genuineness, empathy, and unconditional positive regard. He believed that when people are in such an environment, they naturally move toward greater self-understanding, self-acceptance, and self-actualization. This highlights his belief in the transformative power of self-love. Rogers' perspective not only reshaped therapy but also provides valuable insights into our discussion. His teachings encourage us to cultivate self-love that is independent of external factors, recognizing that this leads to personal growth and self-realization. Now, let's turn to another influential psychologist, Abraham Maslow, who, like Carl Rogers, was a key figure in the humanistic movement. Maslow's theories on the hierarchy of needs and self-actualization provide a compelling framework for understanding self-love and healthy selfishness. Abraham Maslow, born in 1908, made significant contributions to psychology through his humanistic approach, which is sometimes referred to as the third force in psychology. This perspective emphasizes the inherent goodness of people and the importance of psychological well-being and growth. Maslow is best known for his hierarchy of needs, a framework that remains widely influential in fields such as business, marketing, psychology, and education. At the top of this hierarchy is self-actualization, the process of realizing one's full potential over time. The idea of self-actualization aligns closely with self-love and healthy selfishness. At the base of Maslow's hierarchy are fundamental needs such as food and shelter. At the top are the needs related to personal fulfillment and self-actualization. Maslow argued that individuals must first satisfy their basic needs before pursuing higher-level aspirations. In this sense, self-love is essential at every stage. It motivates us to care for our physical and psychological needs, which in turn supports our journey toward self-actualization. Maslow also emphasized the importance of self-esteem within his hierarchy, highlighting that self-love and self-respect are essential for personal development. Without self-esteem, it becomes difficult to progress toward self-actualization. Furthermore, Maslow saw the pursuit of self-actualization as a form of healthy selfishness, one that involves seeking personal growth, fulfillment, and peak experiences. While some might perceive this as selfishness, it is actually a positive and necessary pursuit because it contributes to personal happiness and well-being. However, Maslow also included transcendence in his theory, suggesting that true self-actualization involves not only personal growth, but also a sense of connection to humanity and a desire to contribute to others. Maslow's insights provide a valuable perspective on self-love and healthy selfishness. His work reinforces the idea that prioritizing our own well-being and growth is not selfish in a negative sense. It is a fundamental part of living a meaningful and fulfilling life. Now, let's take a step back in time to explore ancient wisdom on this topic. One of the greatest philosophers in history, Aristotle, offers profound insights into self-love and the pursuit of a flourishing life. Aristotle, born in 384 BC, was a student of Plato and later the teacher of Alexander the Great. His vast body of work, spanning philosophy, ethics, and politics, has influenced Western thought for centuries. His teachings remain relevant today, particularly his concept of eudaimonia, which is often translated as happiness or flourishing. According to Aristotle, eudaimonia is the ultimate goal of human life. However, It is not merely about fleeting happiness or pleasure. It is a state of being that comes from living virtuously and realizing one's full potential. Self-love and rational self-interest are deeply tied to this idea. Aristotle argued that self-love is not only acceptable but necessary for achieving eudaimonia. However, he distinguished between virtuous self-love, which involves striving for personal excellence, and selfishness, which involves seeking short-term gratification at the expense of others. To truly love oneself, Aristotle believed, one must pursue virtue and wisdom. This aligns with the idea of healthy selfishness, seeking personal growth and fulfillment not out of greed, but as a means to contribute positively to society. For example, an artist practicing Aristotelian self-love would focus on honing their craft and expressing their unique artistic vision. Similarly, someone choosing between a high-paying job that brings no joy and a lower-paying but fulfilling career might prioritize long-term happiness over material wealth. Ultimately, Aristotle's philosophy supports the idea that self-love and a certain level of selfishness are not only good but essential for personal growth. By prioritizing our well-being and striving for excellence, we not only enhance our own lives, but also contribute positively to our communities. From the insights of Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow to the timeless wisdom of Aristotle, we see that self-love and healthy selfishness are not contradictions but complementary forces that lead to a fulfilling and meaningful life. Staying true to one's ideals while seeking personal growth and satisfaction is essential. Ayn Rand argues that this form of rational self-interest is necessary for a fair society. She believes that everyone should prioritize their own best interests while respecting others' rights to do the same. This, she claims, creates a society where individuals work together and value each other. Rand envisions a world where logical selfishness leads to freedom, happiness, and mutual respect. When discussing self-love and healthy selfishness, Rand presents a thought-provoking perspective. Her advocacy for rational self-interest challenges conventional wisdom, prompting us to reconsider what selfishness truly means and how it affects our lives. It serves as a stark reminder of the importance of living in alignment with our ideals and personal best interests, which play a fundamental role in our overall well-being. Even if some view her philosophy as extreme or cold-heartedly egocentric, it is undeniable that embracing self-interest can lead to personal fulfillment and a more honest, transparent, and ultimately peaceful society. Now, our intellectual journey takes us to the world of Stoicism, where we meet Epictetus, a renowned philosopher from this school of thought. Despite a difficult childhood and being born a slave in Phrygia around 55 AD, Epictetus became one of the most influential Stoic thinkers. His teachings, which remain relevant today, emphasize that virtue, wisdom, and morality are the keys to happiness. Stoicism asserts that while we may not control external events, we can control our responses to them. It encourages calm acceptance of fate and circumstances while striving for self-improvement through reason, self-discipline, and virtue. Epictetus is best known for his ideas on inner freedom and self-control. His works, such as Discourses and the Enchiridion, delve deeply into these concepts. A cornerstone of his philosophy is distinguishing between what we can control, our thoughts, emotions, and actions, and what we cannot, external events, others' actions, or their opinions. This understanding forms the foundation of Stoic thought. For Epictetus, self-control goes beyond merely resisting temptations or impulses. It is about regulating our emotions and responses to external circumstances. He teaches that our inner state and happiness depend not on what happens to us, but on how we react. This perspective aligns with self-love, as it encourages us to prioritize our mental and emotional well-being while maintaining inner peace. Stoicism values self-care, emphasizing the need for tranquility, emotional resilience, and moral integrity. Contrary to common misconceptions, Stoic self-care is not about indulgence or physical relaxation. Rather, it involves cultivating mental clarity, reflection, and overall well-being. It encompasses the development of reason, emotional regulation, and the pursuit of virtue, all of which are essential aspects of self-love and rational self-interest. Epictetus's teachings can have a profound impact on daily life. For example, if a work project causes stress, Stoic wisdom suggests focusing on what you can control, your effort, time management, and stress responses, rather than the outcome. Similarly, when struggling with self-esteem, recognizing that your value comes from your virtues, actions, and inner peace rather than external validation can be transformative. Our exploration now leads us to Jean-Paul Sartre, a French philosopher and one of the leading figures of existentialism. Born in Paris in 1905, Sartre's writings and ideas significantly influenced Western philosophy, particularly existentialism and phenomenology. Existentialism, the movement Sartre helped popularize, asserts that individuals define their own existence in an indifferent or even hostile world. It champions freedom, choice, and responsibility, arguing that people must create their own meaning. Sartre famously stated that existence precedes essence, meaning that we exist first and then shape our essence through our choices and actions. Sartre's concept of authenticity is deeply connected to this notion of freedom. To live authentically means being true to oneself, independent of societal expectations or external pressures. Authenticity requires acknowledging one's freedom and taking full responsibility for one's actions, choices, and their consequences. As Sartre put it, man is condemned to be free, highlighting the weight of personal responsibility. Authenticity, self-love, and rational self-interest are closely linked. Sartre's philosophy encourages individuals to stay true to their beliefs and values, recognizing and respecting their desires while making choices aligned with their true selves. This involves having the self-respect to live honestly, even if it means defying societal norms. However, Sartrean authenticity differs from selfishness. It is not about disregarding others, but about embracing freedom responsibly. Authentic living requires self-awareness and action based on genuine desires, but not at the expense of others. For instance, in relationships, authenticity means openly expressing one's needs and emotions, even when they differ from others' expectations. In the workplace, it might involve choosing a career path that aligns with personal fulfillment rather than external approval or financial incentives. Sartre's notion of authenticity offers a unique perspective on self-love and rational self-interest by encouraging individuals to embrace their freedom, take ownership of their lives, and live with courage and sincerity. Continuing our philosophical journey, we now turn eastward to explore Buddhism, which finds its roots in the teachings of Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha. Dating back to the 6th century BCE, Buddhism has provided wisdom and guidance to millions worldwide. At the core of Buddhism lie the Four Noble Truths, which explain the nature of suffering, its causes, how to overcome it, and the path to liberation. The Noble Eightfold Path, a fundamental Buddhist practice, offers a roadmap to ending suffering and achieving enlightenment. A central tenet of Buddhism is the middle way, a balanced approach that avoids extremes of indulgence and self-denial. The Buddha discovered this path after experiencing both severe asceticism and material excess, realizing that neither led to true happiness or enlightenment. The middle way emphasizes wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline, encompassing right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Buddhism presents an interesting perspective on self-love and selfishness. Self-love, from a Buddhist viewpoint, involves compassionate care for one's well-being, both physical and mental. It encourages cultivating positive mental states while minimizing negative ones. This aligns with the middle way, which promotes self-care without veering into narcissism or self-neglect. Buddhism does not inherently demonize selfishness but discourages its harmful manifestations, such as greed, hatred, and delusion, considered the roots of suffering. However, a healthy form of self-interest, such as taking care of one's well-being, is essential for cultivating self-love and compassion, which are integral to following the middle way. Meditation, a core Buddhist practice, exemplifies this balance. It is an act of self-love and rational self-interest, allowing individuals to cultivate inner peace, mindfulness, and mental clarity. This aligns with the middle way, as it nurtures harmony without excessive outward focus or detachment. In practical terms, the middle way can guide us in balancing personal and professional responsibilities, ensuring self-care without neglecting obligations. It teaches us to lead a life of equanimity, understanding, and compassion, not just toward others, but also toward ourselves. The middle way offers a profound perspective on self-love and rational self-interest, encouraging a harmonious approach that avoids both self-indulgence and self-denial. As we continue our exploration, we now turn to the insights of a German social psychologist, psychoanalyst, sociologist, and humanistic philosopher from the mid-20th century. Erich Fr. Born in Frankfurt, Germany in 1900, Fr's ideas transcended academic fields, providing profound insights into human behavior, love, and society. From is best known for his work The Art of Loving, published in 1956. In this seminal work he presents love not as a sentiment easily swayed by passion or external factors, but as an art that one must cultivate and nurture according to from the practice of love. Involves a sense of discipline, concentration, patience, and a transcendence of narcissism. Most importantly, it requires an ability to love oneself. Prom's conception of self-love is far from the notion of narcissism or conceitedness. He emphasized that loving oneself and loving others are two sides of the same coin. They're inseparable. From self-love means acknowledging one's own worth and not hating oneself for one's shortcomings. It's a deep appreciation for oneself that in turn allows for the genuine love of others. Pr. wrote, in the experience of love lies the only answer to being human, lies sanity. He believed that an individual's mental health could not be separated from their capacity to love themselves and others. He argued that self-love and the love for others are intertwined, noting that love isn't possible without self-love and self-love isn't possible without the love for others. In practical terms, Pr's idea of self-love encourages us to maintain a balance between caring for ourselves and for others. It's about acknowledging our own needs and aspirations while respecting and caring for the needs and aspirations of others. It rejects the notion of self-love as a narcissistic, self-absorbed act, redefining it instead as an inclusive act that extends beyond the self in our relationships, whether personal or professional. From's idea encourages us to practice active listening, understanding, and mutual respect stemming from the love we cultivate for ourselves and extend to others. It pushes us to be patient not just with others but also with ourselves as we navigate through the challenges of life in the realm of personal growth and development. Fr's concept teaches us to embrace our flaws and work on them without hating or being too harsh on ourselves. It encourages a healthy level of self-critique and introspection, fostering personal growth and a better understanding of ourselves. Prom's perspective on self-love as an integral part of loving others provides a crucial layer to our understanding of self-love and selfishness. His thoughts encourage us to recognize self-love not as an isolated, self-centered act but as a vital step towards loving others and leading a wholesome life. As we journey through the different philosophies and psychological perspectives on self-love and selfishness, we find ourselves in a mosaic of ideas, each unique yet sharing common threads, comparing and contrasting. These perspectives helps us appreciate their depth and diversity and guides us in integrating these principles into our daily lives. Starting with Carl Rogers, we saw that self-love is intrinsically tied to the concept of self-actualization. A positive view of oneself enables one to explore their potentials and capabilities fully. The concept of self-actualization resurfaces in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, emphasizing self-love as a crucial element in fulfilling our highest potential. Aristotle's Eudaimonia echoes similar sentiments with the pursuit of happiness, through self-realization and the achievement of personal excellence on the other hand. Ayn Rand's objectivism introduces the idea of rational selfishness, arguing that pursuing one's self-interest when done rationally is the highest moral purpose. This contrasts with the Stoic perspective represented by Epictetus, which advocates for self-control and inner freedom, seeking tranquility and virtue rather than immediate self-gratification. Jean-Paul Sartre's existentialist perspective throws us into the pursuit of authenticity, implying that self-love is about embracing our freedom and taking responsibility for our actions. Meanwhile, Buddha's middle way teaches us to navigate between the dreams of self-denial and self-indulgence, emphasizing the need for a balanced approach to self-love and selfishness. Eric F. R. bridges these different perspectives by presenting self-love as an art crucial for our ability to love others. His work underscores the mutual interdependence between loving oneself and loving others despite their varied historical and cultural contexts. These philosophers and psychologists share an appreciation for the value of self-love and a balanced sense of selfishness. They all recognize in one way or another that self-love is not an act of vanity or narcissism but a crucial part of human well-being and a key to a fulfilling life. The concept of selfishness, too, is reframed as a healthy act of caring for oneself and not an expression of disregard for others. In terms of applying these perspectives to contemporary life, we can take away several valuable lessons. Self-love is about recognizing our self-worth and treating ourselves with kindness and respect. It involves understanding and meeting our needs, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Healthy selfishness, on the other hand, is about setting boundaries and making time for ourselves amid our busy lives. It's about asserting our interests while maintaining empathy and consideration for others in a world that often demands us to put others' needs before our own. These philosophical and psychological perspectives remind us of the importance of taking care of ourselves too. After all, as the adage goes, you cannot pour from an empty cup. In the act of nurturing ourselves, we become better equipped to contribute to the world and enrich the lives of those around us. As we venture forth into our individual journeys, let these philosophers and psychologists be our guides, illuminate our paths as we navigate the complexities of self-love and selfishness, striving to create a balance that fosters personal growth and contributes to a fulfilling life. As you move forward, remember that self-love and balanced selfishness are not barriers to growth but catalysts for it. They form the foundation of a life that is not only good but also meaningful and truly our own. Have you ever pondered fundamental questions about human existence? Who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of life? If so, you've unknowingly delved into existentialism, a philosophy that places human existence, freedom, and choice at its core. Imagine floating in the vast cosmos, gazing down at our tiny planet, a mere speck in an infinite universe. All human successes, failures, joys, and sorrows condensed into a single dot. Overwhelming, isn't it? It might even seem absurd. But don't despair. That sense of insignificance is precisely where existentialism begins. At its core, existentialism is a philosophy concerned with finding the self and the meaning of life through free will, choice, and personal responsibility. It rejects the notion that the universe inherently holds meaning for us, suggesting instead that we must create our own purpose. In a world where traditional structures and moral codes offer no easy guidance, existentialism invites us to forge our own path. This philosophy emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, gaining prominence after World War II. It was born from chaos and disillusionment, seeking to explore the human condition in an era of uncertainty. Two key thinkers stand out in this intellectual movement: Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Jean-Paul Sartre, a French philosopher, is often seen as a central figure in existentialism. His idea that existence precedes essence means that humans are not born with a predefined purpose. Instead, we must create our own essence through our actions and choices. According to Sartre, we are thrust into the world without inherent meaning, and it is our responsibility to shape our destinies. Albert Camus, while closely associated with existentialism, preferred to identify as an absurdist. He argued that the universe is indifferent to our struggles, joys, and existence. However, rather than succumbing to despair, Camus believed that recognizing this absurdity allows us to embrace freedom and create our own meaning. We will delve into their philosophies, unpacking key concepts and exploring how their ideas provide valuable insights into our lives. After all, isn't that the ultimate goal? To understand and navigate our existence in this vast cosmos? The origins of existentialism. Though existentialism flourished in the 19th and 20th centuries, its roots stretch back further, drawing inspiration from earlier philosophical traditions. Its emphasis on individual experience, freedom, and the search for meaning can be traced to thinkers like Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche. Søren Kierkegaard, a Danish philosopher of the mid-19th century, is often hailed as the first existentialist. He emphasized the importance of individual experience and personal responsibility, rejecting abstract philosophy in favor of lived experience. His notion that truth is subjectivity suggests that the most significant truths, especially concerning ethics and religion, are deeply personal and subjective. Friedrich Nietzsche, the iconoclastic German philosopher, fiercely criticized established values and championed individualism. He believed in the concept of the Übermensch, a self-actualized individual who defies conventional morality to create their own values. Despite these early influences, existentialism truly took shape in the aftermath of World War II. The horrors of war, totalitarian regimes, and nuclear threats led to a crisis of identity and meaning. In this context, existentialism's focus on personal freedom, the responsibility of choice, and the search for authenticity resonated deeply. The existentialist idea that existence precedes essence countered traditional philosophy, which held that essence or nature precedes existence. This radical idea proposed that humans are not born with a predetermined purpose but must define themselves through their actions and choices. Simone de Beauvoir, another significant existentialist thinker, explored these themes through the lens of women's experiences in her groundbreaking work The Second Sex, linking existentialism with the feminist movement. Existentialism was also influenced by literature and art. The works of Fyodor Dostoevsky, Franz Kafka, and Samuel Beckett vividly illustrated existentialist themes of despair, isolation, and the absurdity of existence. Thus, existentialism emerged from a confluence of philosophical thought, historical upheaval, and cultural expression, a response to modern challenges that pushes individuals to confront the absurdity of existence and create personal meaning amid the chaos. Jean-Paul Sartre, the architect of existentialism. Jean-Paul Sartre, born in 1905 in Paris, France, was a philosopher, novelist, playwright, and critic whose influence extended far beyond academia. He is widely regarded as the leading figure of the existentialist movement. Orphaned at a young age, Sartre was raised by his grandparents. He excelled academically and attended a prestigious university in Paris, where he met Simone de Beauvoir, his lifelong partner and a formidable thinker in her own right. They formed a radical, open relationship that challenged societal norms. During World War II, Sartre served as a meteorologist in the French army and was captured by German forces in 1940. His experiences of war and imprisonment deeply shaped his philosophical outlook, fueling his exploration of freedom, responsibility, and the search for meaning. One of Sartre's most significant contributions to existentialism is his assertion that existence precedes essence. This challenges traditional philosophy, which assumes that things have a predefined essence that determines their purpose. Instead, Sartre argued that humans are born without inherent meaning and must define themselves through their actions. This idea ties into Sartre's concept of radical freedom. He believed that every person is entirely free and responsible for their choices. Since no external authority determines human nature, each action contributes to shaping what it means to be human. This radical freedom can be both liberating and terrifying. It offers limitless possibilities, but also demands full responsibility for one's life and decisions. Sartre introduced the concept of bad faith, the act of denying one's own freedom by blaming external circumstances, genetics, or societal norms. When people refuse to acknowledge their ability to choose, they evade responsibility for their actions. Living authentically, according to Sartre, requires recognizing our freedom and embracing it fully. Another key idea in Sartre's philosophy is nothingness. He explored the notion that human consciousness is a form of nothingness that separates us from the world, granting us the freedom to transcend our circumstances. In Being and Nothingness, Sartre depicted human existence as a paradoxical struggle between being and nothingness, a conflict that defines our identity. Sartre also examined the concept of the gaze of the other. He argued that when we become aware of how others perceive us, we may feel objectified, as captured in his famous phrase, "Hell is other people." This doesn't mean all relationships are inherently negative, but rather that the awareness of being observed can limit our freedom. Beyond philosophy, Sartre was deeply committed to social justice. His existentialism was not just an intellectual exercise but a call to action, urging individuals to take responsibility for shaping their lives and society. As we continue our journey into existentialism, we will further explore Sartre's ideas and those of his contemporaries, uncovering how their philosophies can help us navigate the complexities of our own existence. Jean-Paul Sartre did not see philosophy as merely an academic subject but as a means to question, seek, and change society. Existentialism, as he saw it, was a philosophy of action, encouraging people to recognize their freedom and use it to fight injustice and create a more authentic existence. His 1943 work, Being and Nothingness, is arguably his most significant contribution to existential thought. This book delves deeply into phenomenology and existentialism, examining human consciousness, freedom, and the nature of existence. Albert Camus and the Philosophy of the Absurd. Albert Camus was born in 1913 in French Algeria and grew up in extreme poverty, which heightened his political awareness and empathy for the marginalized. A gifted student, he earned a scholarship to study philosophy at the University of Algiers. There, he developed a passion for theater, journalism, and political activism. Although Camus moved to France before World War II, he quickly became involved in the French resistance as the editor of the underground newspaper Combat, using his writing to oppose fascism. Camus' philosophy, though often associated with existentialism, diverged from Sartre's in key ways. Rather than calling himself an existentialist, Camus developed what he termed a philosophy of the absurd. For Camus, life's absurdity stems from the contradiction between our deep-seated desire for meaning, order, and clarity and the universe's silence, its lack of inherent meaning. His famous essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, explores this idea in detail. In Greek mythology, Sisyphus is condemned to roll a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down for eternity. Camus draws a parallel to human existence. Just as Sisyphus endlessly pushes his rock, we struggle through life's repetitive cycles in a world that offers no ultimate answers. However, Camus rejects the notion that absurdity should lead to despair. Instead, he argues that by embracing the absurd, we can find true freedom. As he famously wrote, "The struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy." Rather than seeking solace in false hopes or external meanings, Camus encourages us to rebel against the absurd by fully engaging with life. His concept of revolt extends beyond philosophy into politics, where he advocated for justice and resistance against oppression. Another key theme in Camus' philosophy is morality. Since life has no predetermined meaning or moral structure, we must create our own ethical framework. Unlike Sartre, who emphasized individual responsibility, Camus focused on simple joys, sensory pleasures, friendship, and a connection with the natural world. He valued life's tangible experiences, such as feeling the sun on one's skin or sharing a moment with a friend. His novel The Stranger, 1942, vividly illustrates his philosophy. The protagonist, Mesault, is emotionally detached from the world. He reacts indifferently to his mother's death and commits an act of violence with no apparent remorse. His apathy reflects his rejection of societal expectations and moral conventions. A pivotal moment in the novel comes during Mesault's trial, where he reflects, "I had lived my life one way, and I could just as well have lived it another. I had done this and I hadn't done that. I hadn't done this thing, but I had done another." Your life through the existential lens. Remember, your existence is not defined by external circumstances or pre-existing essences. You have the freedom to shape your existence, create your own meaning, define your purpose, and seek fulfillment. In a world often brimming with uncertainty and chaos, the existential perspective serves as a reminder that we hold the pen that writes our life story. So, as we step out of the world of Sartre and Camus and back into our own lives, let's do so with a renewed sense of agency, authenticity, and resolve to live deeply, meaningfully, and authentically. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the fast-paced modern world? Have you sought a sense of tranquility amidst chaos or clarity in the face of uncertainty? What if I told you that there is a way of life, a path that could give you the tools to handle life's challenges with balance and resilience? That path is Stoicism, an ancient philosophy that is just as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. Stoicism's timeless wisdom remains valuable for living a happy life, controlling emotions, and dealing with difficulties with grace and strength. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot. Seneca, a famous Stoic philosopher from Rome, born in 4 BC, was one of the most notable figures who followed this way of thinking. He was a philosopher, politician, playwright, and, at one point in his life, an advisor to Emperor Nero. However, it is his deep philosophical works that we remember him for the most, works that have influenced generations of thinkers, leaders, and everyday individuals. Among his philosophical writings, Letters from a Stoic stands out as one of the most powerful. This collection of 124 letters, written by Seneca to his friend Lucilius, contains his thoughts, wisdom, and advice on a wide range of topics. It serves as a timeless guide to the art of living well. These letters are a rich tapestry of wisdom. They remind us of the value of virtue, the power of resilience in the face of adversity, and much more. The lessons from Seneca are not just theoretical musings. They are practical insights that we can apply in our daily lives. They provide a roadmap to living a good life and finding peace in a chaotic world. As we explore Seneca's letters and the heart of Stoicism, it is essential to understand why these teachings still resonate with us today. While the world is vastly different from Seneca's Rome, human hopes, fears, problems, and emotions remain largely the same. In a time when our senses are constantly bombarded with distractions, the Stoic principle of focusing on what we can control shines like a lighthouse. It helps clear our minds, directing our energies toward our actions and responses instead of worrying about external circumstances. This principle can not only increase productivity but also bring peace and calm amidst chaos. Today, success is often equated with wealth and popularity, but Seneca's letters remind us that true wealth and happiness come from virtue and wisdom. These teachings encourage us to rethink our definition of success, emphasizing personal growth, moral living, and meaningful relationships, factors that provide a deep and lasting sense of fulfillment. Additionally, Seneca's reflections on life and death offer profound insight. In a world that often avoids discussions about mortality, his ideas encourage us to confront and contemplate our own, leading to a more purposeful life, greater appreciation of each moment, and a determination to make the most of our short existence. Equally important is Seneca's guidance on managing emotions such as anger, fear, anxiety, and sadness. His teachings on emotional resilience, self-discipline, and the power of rational thought are invaluable in maintaining mental well-being. The lessons we are about to discuss are not just ancient philosophical ideas. They are practical, powerful, and deeply relevant to our modern lives. They offer timeless wisdom that can help us navigate our complex world with poise, courage, and wisdom. In one of his letters, Seneca wrote, "Fire is the test of gold, adversity of strong men." This powerful metaphor perfectly encapsulates his perspective on hardships. Just as fire refines gold, facing and overcoming adversity tests and strengthens our character. This statement is not an invitation to seek hardship for the sake of suffering. Rather, it is a call to shift our mindset regarding the challenges we face, finding within them the strength and resilience to grow. How can we apply this wisdom to our modern lives? Take, for example, the global pandemic. For many, it was a time of immense difficulty, threatening physical and mental health, financial stability, and creating a profound sense of uncertainty. However, it also acted as a test, a fire, so to speak, that forced individuals, communities, and even nations to demonstrate resilience, innovate, and evolve. On a personal level, hardships could include losing a job, experiencing a breakup, or facing a health scare. These experiences, though painful, also present opportunities for growth. Losing a job might lead you to discover a more fulfilling career or even start your own business. Ending a relationship might push you to learn more about yourself and improve for the future. A health scare might serve as a wake-up call to prioritize your well-being and adopt healthier habits. The Stoic approach to adversity is not to ignore or suppress pain, but to acknowledge it, accept its reality, and then use it as a catalyst for change and growth. While we cannot always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. This does not mean hardships will be easy, but Seneca's lessons provide a perspective that transforms obstacles from barriers into opportunities for growth and development. So, how can we incorporate Seneca's wisdom into our daily lives? Practice mindfulness. Be fully present in every moment. Whether working, spending time with loved ones, or enjoying solitude, immerse yourself in the experience without distractions. This not only enhances appreciation but also improves focus, productivity, and overall well-being. Evaluate your daily activities. Are you spending time on things that truly matter? Can you delegate, eliminate, or streamline tasks to focus on what brings you fulfillment? Every minute spent on something meaningless is a minute lost from something meaningful. Cultivate gratitude for time. Instead of lamenting how quickly time passes, cherish each day, hour, and breath. Recognize time as the invaluable gift it is. Work toward your goals, but don't forget to enjoy the journey, because life is happening now, in the present moment. Seneca's thoughts on the brevity of life serve as a powerful wake-up call. They remind us to stop wasting time and instead focus on what truly matters. Putting off our happiness for the future and not living fully in the present is a mistake. Life is short, and Seneca reminds us of this truth. Although he wrote extensively about philosophy, he never overlooked the importance of human relationships. His deep understanding of the need for connection makes his ideas about friendship just as relevant today. For example, he said, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood." This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of genuine friendship. At its core, it highlights that empathy is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. To understand and be understood means fostering a deep sense of mutual empathy, actively listening, sharing thoughts and emotions, and seeing the world from another's perspective while allowing them to see it from yours. How does this ancient wisdom apply to our modern lives? Meaningful relationships thrive on empathy, understanding each other's joys, pains, ambitions, and fears while providing unwavering support. In an era where digital connectivity is at an all-time high but emotional connections can feel distant, maintaining deep and meaningful relationships is more important than ever. This requires making time for genuine connections, engaging in heartfelt conversations, being present in each other's lives, and offering support when needed. Seneca's wisdom also urges us to evaluate our existing relationships. Are they built on mutual understanding and empathy, or are they merely surface-level connections? Are we surrounded by people who uplift us, or do we remain in relationships that drain us? True friendship is not about the number of friends we have, but the quality of those relationships. Furthermore, Seneca's quote is not only about being understood, but also about understanding others. This means being good listeners, offering compassion, and seeking to understand others without judgment. By making an effort to see the world through different perspectives, we foster greater empathy and reduce misunderstandings that often lead to conflict. Seneca's teachings remind us that the foundation of great friendships is mutual understanding and empathy. His wisdom encourages us to cultivate deep, meaningful relationships that enrich our lives and provide a sense of fulfillment. Beyond relationships, Seneca also emphasized the importance of emotional control, particularly in managing anger. He wisely stated, "There is no more stupefying thing than anger, nothing more bent on its own strength." This lesson highlights the importance of mastering our emotions, especially anger, which can be destructive if left unchecked. According to Seneca, anger is a self-destructive and self-perpetuating emotion that clouds our judgment and leads to actions we later regret. It is easy to give in to anger, but how can we apply Seneca's wisdom to manage it in our modern lives? First, we must recognize that anger harms us more than the person we are angry at. Once we internalize this truth, we can begin to detach from anger and see it with greater objectivity. Second, self-awareness is key. Identifying what triggers our anger and recognizing its signs, whether physical, mental, or emotional, can help us intervene before it escalates. Third, Stoics believed in the power of reason and logic. In moments of anger, we should ask ourselves, is my reaction justified? What is a better way to respond? These questions help us engage our rational mind instead of reacting impulsively. Additionally, relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, taking a walk, or practicing mindfulness can help diffuse anger before it spirals out of control. Finally, from a Stoic perspective, we must remember that while we cannot control other people's actions, we can control how we respond to them. If someone's behavior upsets us, we can choose to react with patience and understanding rather than anger. By applying Seneca's wisdom, we can break free from the cycle of anger and cultivate emotional resilience and inner peace. Managing anger is not about suppressing emotions, but about responding to them in a healthier and more constructive way. At the heart of Seneca's philosophy is the concept of virtue, which he described as nothing else than right reason. This perspective places virtue at the pinnacle of human ethics and morality, emphasizing the Stoic commitment to integrity. But what does Seneca mean by virtue and right reason, and how can we apply these principles in daily life? To Seneca, virtue was the highest good, superior to wealth, reputation, pleasure, or even life itself. A virtuous person lives according to wisdom and reason, treating others with fairness, showing courage in adversity, exercising self-control in temptation, and applying wisdom in all aspects of life. To put right reason into practice, we must cultivate wisdom and reason. This means making decisions that are ethical, just, and not solely self-serving. It involves seeking knowledge, embracing different perspectives, and applying critical thinking to complex situations. Engage in self-reflection, We should regularly examine our actions and attitudes to ensure they align with our moral values. Do we act with integrity, even when no one is watching? Do we choose the right path, even when it is inconvenient? Practice empathy and compassion. Living virtuously means recognizing the inherent worth of every individual. We should treat others with kindness, stand up against injustice, and contribute positively to our communities. Develop resilience and equanimity. Life is unpredictable, but a virtuous person remains steadfast in the face of challenges, never compromising their principles due to external pressures. By integrating these principles into our lives, we can embody Seneca's teachings, living with virtue, reason, and a deep sense of fulfillment. Seneca, though a wealthy man, had unorthodox views on wealth and happiness. He believed that true happiness came not from wealth but from wisdom and virtue. He famously stated, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." At first, this may seem counterintuitive. Most people desire a life free of hardship. Yet Seneca insists that a life devoid of adversity is unfulfilling. Why? Because adversity is a catalyst for growth. Without challenges, we never test our resilience, discover our strengths, or realize our full potential. True happiness comes from overcoming obstacles and achieving personal growth. The pursuit of wealth, on the other hand, can lead to complacency, indulgence, and entitlement. When we are shielded from hardship, we miss opportunities to develop resilience and wisdom. So how can we apply Seneca's teachings today? Embrace adversity. Instead of avoiding challenges, we should view them as opportunities for growth. A resilient mindset allows us to see hardships as stepping stones to self-improvement. Balance material success with personal growth. Wealth is not inherently bad, but it should not overshadow our pursuit of virtue and wisdom. Redefine wealth. True wealth is not about possessions but about inner richness, developing character, wisdom, and emotional resilience. Recognize that happiness is not the absence of adversity. Instead, happiness is found in navigating life's challenges with strength and grace. Seneca's wisdom offers an alternative to the materialistic worldview prevalent today. His teachings encourage us to seek true wealth, wisdom, virtue, and self-realization, rather than external riches. Finally, one of the core principles of Stoicism is living in harmony with nature, a concept encapsulated in Seneca's words, "God is near you, He is with you, He is within you." In Stoicism, God is synonymous with nature or the rational order of the universe. Seneca's quote suggests that we carry within us a spark of the divine, the logos or universal reason. To live in harmony with nature, we must embrace our rationality, using reason to make thoughtful decisions and navigate life ethically. Accept the natural order, understanding that life has cycles of growth, decay, and change, and finding peace in this impermanence. Recognize our interconnectedness. Just as nature thrives in balance, we should nurture healthy relationships and respect the world around us. By aligning our actions with reason and virtue, we honor the divine within us and live a life of integrity and wisdom. Seneca's teachings remain a powerful guide for living a meaningful, virtuous, and fulfilling life. Seneca often spoke about the importance of self-discipline in living a good life. One of his most famous quotes, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor," beautifully sums up this idea. To begin, it's important to understand what Seneca means by craving more. This phrase refers to unchecked desires, such as an insatiable need for more money, power, or pleasure. A lack of self-discipline and contentment leads us to constantly seek the next source of gratification. Mastering self-discipline means controlling these cravings. It involves developing a sense of contentment, valuing what we have, and managing our desires in a way that aligns with virtue and reason. Being self-aware and reflecting on our reasons for wanting things helps us recognize when our cravings are taking over. Once we identify our desires, we must assess whether they align with our values and priorities, or if they simply fuel an endless pursuit of more. This process of self-reflection should not be a one-time effort but a continuous practice. It involves regularly evaluating our wants, judging their validity, and adjusting our actions accordingly. Finally, we must take practical steps to control our cravings. This could mean setting limits, developing healthy habits, and seeking support when necessary. The goal is to live a life guided by reason and virtue rather than being controlled by fleeting desires. Seneca's wisdom on self-discipline serves as a powerful reminder that true wealth lies not in having more but in desiring less. It is about finding contentment in what we have and mastering our desires through self-discipline. A Stoic perspective on death. What does the Stoic perspective on death mean, and how can it affect our understanding of life and mortality? Like many other Stoic philosophers, Seneca frequently explored the subject of death, viewing it with profound acceptance and tranquility. To understand Seneca's viewpoint, we must first grasp the Stoic concept of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Stoicism teaches us to accept and embrace all aspects of life, including its inevitable end. According to Stoics, death, like birth, is a natural part of existence and should be acknowledged rather than feared. Seneca's perspective presents death not as a terrifying end but as a release, a final rest from the struggles and anxieties of life. This viewpoint is not rooted in pessimism or a lack of appreciation for life, but rather in a deep understanding that all aspects of life, including pain and suffering, are temporary. Death is simply the natural conclusion to these experiences. This perspective shifts how we perceive and live our lives. It encourages us to live fully, with an awareness of our mortality that makes each moment more meaningful. Seneca advises us not to fear death because it is not a tragedy but an inevitable part of existence. By accepting death, we free ourselves from fear and can live with greater courage and purpose. Additionally, reflecting on our mortality can help us navigate life's challenges, prioritize what truly matters, and cherish our time more deeply. Seneca's teachings remind us to acknowledge death, not with fear but with understanding, not with avoidance but with awareness, so that we may live more fully, courageously, and meaningfully. Seneca's views on death challenge the common narrative that portrays it as the ultimate enemy. Instead, he invites us to see death as a natural part of life's journey, a final release from challenges and a return to the tranquility that existed before birth. His words offer a sense of peace and perspective, teaching us that we can face the end of our lives with the same calm acceptance that we bring to life itself. Overcoming fear and anxiety. There are more things, Lucilius, likely to frighten us than there are to crush us. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca's timeless wisdom is particularly relevant in today's uncertain world. Before we can fully grasp this lesson, we must first recognize that fear and anxiety exist primarily in our thoughts and are often disconnected from the present moment. When we worry, we typically focus on what might happen in the future or dwell on regrets from the past, neither of which we can change in the present. According to Seneca, this habit of mentally living in the past or future is what fuels our anxiety and fear. Next, Seneca urges us to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not, an essential principle of Stoic philosophy. When we realize that many of our worries concern things beyond our influence, such as future uncertainties, we can begin to let go of anxiety and direct our energy toward what we can change. Mindfulness and present moment awareness are powerful tools in this process. When we stay fully present, we anchor ourselves in reality and are less likely to create imaginary fears or dwell on past regrets. Mindfulness allows us to see things as they are, rather than as we fear they might be. Additionally, Seneca and the Stoics advocate for using reason to challenge our fears. Are they logical? Are they based in reality, or are they exaggerated in our minds? When we question our fears, we often discover that they stem from unlikely scenarios or irrational assumptions. Acceptance also plays a crucial role. Acceptance does not mean resignation. Rather, it involves acknowledging our fears and anxieties without letting them control our actions and decisions. It means recognizing that fear is a natural human response but does not define us or our reality. Ultimately, Seneca's wisdom teaches us to confront our worries with logic and present-moment awareness. He reminds us that many of our fears arise from dwelling on the past or future, and that overcoming them lies in focusing on the present. By staying grounded, thinking rationally, and embracing acceptance, we can navigate life's uncertainties with greater calm and confidence. The healing power of travel. We must go for walks outside so that the mind can be strengthened and invigorated by a clear sky and plenty of fresh air. This idea of travel as a remedy for the soul may sound like modern self-help advice, but it originates from ancient Stoic philosophy. Seneca encouraged people to step outside and take walks. But what did he truly mean by this? How can we apply this wisdom to our lives? At its core, Seneca's advice urges us to break free from routine and familiarity, opening ourselves up to new experiences, perspectives, and environments. He did not view travel as a luxury or escape, but as a means of personal growth, self-reflection, and mental renewal. It's important to note that Seneca wasn't only referring to physical travel, journeying from one place to another. He was also emphasizing the inner journey that occurs when we leave our comfort zones, gain new insights, and allow our minds to rest and recharge. To apply this lesson practically, we can seek to change our environment regularly, whether by taking a walk in the park, hiking in the mountains, or traveling to a different city or country. These experiences expose us to fresh air and new perspectives, revitalizing our minds and spirits. However, movement alone is not enough. Being fully present and engaged during our travels allows us to absorb our surroundings and experiences more deeply. Traveling in this way fosters self-reflection, as encountering new places, people, and cultures often reveals hidden aspects of ourselves. In today's fast-paced world, where our minds are often overwhelmed with distractions, stepping away from routine can provide much-needed mental clarity and creativity. Seneca's advice on travel is a reminder to take both mental and physical breaks from our daily lives. These moments of exploration are not indulgences but necessities, opportunities to rejuvenate our souls, discover ourselves, and strengthen our minds. Let's take his advice and seek clear skies and fresh air. Let's travel, not merely to change locations but to heal our souls, expand our perspectives, and refresh our minds.